Hey, JR.
What's up, Zach?
Can I ask you something?
Of course.
Do you even like Jordan?
Jordan, as in the host of our podcast Hop Heroes? That Jordan?
Yeah. I mean, I get that he's part of the show and likes to drink beer and talk comics, but he just kind of gets on my nerves. That dude literally thinks Gambit could take Cyclops. Scott fucking Summers. I mean, what kind of imbecile?
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry, I'm running late for this promo. I just got a little held up. What'd I miss?
Oh. Hey, bro. You didn't miss anything. Nothing.
All right, everything all right? What's going on?
Nothing. We're talking about the podcast, how we like to drink craft beers and discuss comic book stories and shows.
Yeah, that's all we were talking about.
Wait, JR, did you finally tell Zach that we didn't really like him?
Wait, what the fuck?
Hop Heroes, the show where three best friends bridge the gap between great beer and the comic book universe. Find us on all platforms where you find podcasts.
I honestly don't really like either of you guys, so...
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News. We are a pop culture comic book podcast that discusses comic books, movies, TV shows, and of course, we have a beer of the week every single week. And if you're looking for us, you just stumbled upon us, don't know where to go, Hops Geek News on any social media platform, as you know, to include YouTube. And then, of course, Hops Geek News on any podcasting platform. That's where you will find all of our episodes. And if you want to support the show, help us grow, go to, do our thing, patreon.com/hopsgeeknews, and then hopsgeeknews.threadless.com. Today, we have an excellent episode. We have Dave, one of the founder and creators from, this is a personal touch for me because it's the Gem State Comic-Con that we're going to talk about today. And if you don't know what that is, first of all, you've been sleeping. And second of all, you think of Idaho, there are more than just what your general
and potatoes
things are. Yeah, there's more than that here. We have a little Comic-Con in Boise, which is wicked rad to go to. It's taking place April 1st and 2nd. So before we get to Dave, my beer of the week this week is from our good friends Woodland Empire. It is their black IPA from their mixtape IPA series. It is called Happy House. Delicious as always. And if you're on YouTube, there's the can. Always great artwork. I always love that. I'm not sure if our friend Joe Blablazo did the artwork for this one.
Blablazo. I love saying his last name.
I do too.
So fun to say. It's like Francisco.
But nice dark. I love a good black IPA, man. It's wicked good, and it's 6.2% ABV. Had to drink something local for the. This is a home show. That's for this week. So, Lauren, what are you drinking?
Well, I don't have any Boise beer. Well, I have your homebrew, but I'm saving it for when my husband comes home so we can share it.
I'm kind of baffled at myself that
I think because you had traveled. So you sent me beer from Oregon and Washington and Utah. But I kept going back and forth between my beer fridges. I'm like, what could I drink for a Comic-Con episode? So I found Sensory Overload. It's a hazy IPA from Ology Brewing up in the Panhandle, Tallahassee. And because, MegaCon is sensory overload. It's so much. From the tiny little ones you go to I've never been to the San Diego one, but the MegaCon and the FanX that I've been to, everywhere you look is just amazing. From the cosplay to what they're selling to the speakers to the photo ops, it's all fun. And I have it in my Spidey glass with the 3 Spider-Men because there's always at least 3 Spider-Men at every Comic-Con.
A lot of Deadpools. We always see a lot of Deadpools too.
Oh yeah,
we always got to point at each other. Everybody points.
But when 3 of them do start pointing at each other, that's just gold right there. It's amazing.
It is. And I mentioned we have a guest. So Dave is on the show, and he's he's the reason we're here today. He's the reason why there is a Comic-Con in Boise. So Dave, welcome to the show. What are you drinking?
Thank you. Well, I'm not drinking any beer because I know this might disappoint some people, but I only drink maybe 4 beers a year. And when I do drink a beer, it's usually Bass Ale or it's Guinness.
Ooh.
And
Can't go wrong with Guinness.
No.
And sometimes I like to treat myself, and I'll go to a place in downtown Boise called Penn Gillies. It's an old pub that's looks like when you walk in, it's like the 1800s. So I love that rustic feel.
Oh.
So I usually do that. But what I'm drinking tonight is Polar seltzer water.
Nice. Hey, that is
Orange
solid.
vanilla.
Ooh, like a creamsicle.
Right.
That does sound good. Now, Dave, for people who don't know, what is Gem State Comic Con? And so you're the man behind it, right? You're the brains of the operation?
No, actually not. Gem State Comic Con is a female ran convention.
The logo makes sense. Makes more sense now.
Yeah. No, I can try to give you the short story. Way back when, I want to say, 2014, my agent, was taking me to Comic Cons to do guest appearances because I'm a writer and I've produced some novels and so forth. So when borders started closing down, she said, hey, let's start doing these Comic Cons to add to your Barnes & Noble appearances. We started doing those, and we started learning the in and outs, like green rooms and how things work. And we're sitting at the table one convention, and she says, I think I could do one of these events because she's worked for British companies in the business world, and she knows a lot about business, and I don't. And I said, well, I don't think you can do this. She goes, I can do this. If you can get the guests, I'll do the rest. So that is actually how it happened. So I get the guests, and I guess because I'm the one with the big mouth, I get to be the bit of the mouthpiece. And she does all the business. She does everything that's really behind the scenes. And her name is Marina Lukyantseva, and she is really just a business genius. And right now she's attending Boise State University for a higher degree. I don't want to give too much information, for people who watch local, but she is the wizard behind it all. And I just negotiate contracts with agents and celebrities and organize flights and hotels, and she does the rest.
Hey, that's
awesome.
heavy work. It's not easy.
Yeah. And we do 6 events in 4 different states. So if you could imagine.
Oh, what other events do you guys do?
We do Anna Medford in Medford, Oregon. It's an anime convention. We do Meadowlark Comic Con in Grants Pass, Oregon. We do Powerhouse Comic Con in Pleasanton, California. We do California Republic Comic Con, which was in Placerville, but now we're looking at moving it to another location. Okay. And let's see, we have Silver Age Comic Con in Reno, Nevada.
Oh,
wow!
And then Gem State Comic Con. So that is
excellent. And you guys do a lot of work. You do a lot of great work, and it's not easy. And on top of your own job, like you're a writer, like you said. So before we get to the Comic Con, though, let's talk about you. Let's put the spotlight on you. What got you into that world of writing novels and comic books?
I grew up in a single parent household. My dad raised my brother and I, and he was a big movie guy. And we had an old movie house from the 40s about 2 miles from our house. And he would walk us there every weekend. And I was raised on the big screen, in the late 70s of Marx Brothers movies, Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin, Cary Grant. I can name all these classic actors that I grew up with. And, he was good friends with Jane Mansfield, and he used to hang out with Jane Mansfield at her house. And that's also a whole long story. But, so I was raised on entertainment, basically. In fact, if you watch the movie The Girl Can't Help It, he has a dress in that movie that he designed for her, and she wore that. Yeah. And so, I was basically raised on entertainment. And when I was 6 years old, I started writing, back in those days, pen and paper novels and short stories. and
in cursive?
Yeah, and in cursive, right. And, once I got out of college, I ended up picking up a a job working under Rose Estes from TSR. She did the Choose Your Own Adventure books, and she was like my mentor. And so I worked with them for a while. And then when I wanted to get out of big publishing, I started doing my own thing. And that's what I've been doing. I have 6 books and about 6 comic books I've done. And right now I'm writing 3 comic books, a comic strip, and 2 novels. And it's a full-time job.
Oh my gosh, how does your brain work?
Going on. Yeah, just a little bit going on.
Yeah, wow. It's brain's always going. It's the problem. Like this afternoon, I was just had to lay in bed for an hour, and because your eyes hurt just looking at the screens all the time.
Yeah. Especially now, how everything is done through a screen. I mean, even comic book artists, if you're looking at it, they have the screens and they can do everything digitally now. So I'm with you, man. It's sometimes I miss the older days where I can get away from the screens, but now it's so tied into what we're doing and who we are.
That's why I'm adamant on like books in hand and comic books. Yes. Like some people are like, oh, why don't you just stream it all or download it all? It's much cheaper. I have these solely because we're on the screens too much. I want that. Plus, I want to bend those pages and whatnot. So since you are still an author and you're still actively writing, do you attend a lot of these conventions too that you help put on?
Not anymore. I just don't have the time for it.
I can't imagine why.
I've been kind of. I've turned into a kind of a Salinger where I do everything work related on computer, and I really never leave the house unless I go to a movie or go to Albertsons. He ended up becoming a hermit, and he never wanted to leave the house, and I'm kind of becoming the same way. I don't want to, but it's just because of what I have to do. It just ends up being that way. And so whenever I get an opportunity, I'm up in the mountains. I'm Boise National Forest, like I mentioned earlier, Sawtooth, Hell's Canyon, the Owyhees. I just try to get out as much as I can when I can. And, you mentioned, the screens, you're on computer all day. And then what do you do when you're off computer? Well, you're on your phone or, when, you're always on your phone. And then if you're not on your phone, you're watching TV. And it's like, my life, it's like 95% screen time. So it's good to get out, pitch a tent, and get away from everything as much as you can for your sanity,
Yeah. Physical and mental well-being.
Right.
And we were talking, before the show, and what a lot of people don't realize when they think of Idaho is, man, we don't like it's. I say we, but like a big secret. It's like, no, this place is terrible. This place is terrible because you don't want people to come and pollute the areas, but the Sawtooth Mountains are beautiful. The Boise National Forest, the stars, just coming here for the beauty alone, like northern Idaho, all of that stuff. There is so much beauty in there. And then even Boise alone, one of my favorite things is looking down State Street towards the Capitol and just seeing the mountains right behind it. And especially this time of year when there's just that snow covering on the top. And it's truly a beautiful area. And I hope a lot of people, especially through the Comic Cons that you guys are doing here and in this area, are like, wow, I'm realizing that. And also incentivizes them to come back and grow this thing.
Right. And I'll tell you, there was a short time between college and writing where I was a firefighter. And, it wasn't for structure fires. It was for, forest fires. And I was stationed in Paradise, California, which now pretty much doesn't exist anymore because it was wiped out by a fire about 4 years ago. But so I'm very strong on ecology and the environment. And, when you mentioned the Capitol and the beautiful mountains behind the Capitol, I'm working as much as I can to keep it that way in the community. And Gem State Comic Con works very closely in all things community to keep those beautiful scenic views, for sure.
I know that's one thing I appreciate about here, right, is a lot of the local businesses and places like yourselves, they get out there and they actually volunteer and they go to clean up the footpaths and the foothills and all of that. And it's awesome. It's great to see there is so much community here. And do you see a lot of that?
That has to be a thing. I'm just going to throw that out there. That's absolutely absurd.
It really should be.
Like we have a 4 Ocean garbage bag that we bring with us every time we go to the beach because it's like netted so you can shake the sand out, and it's unbelievable. I'm sorry. I'm just going to get angry. Go ahead.
No,
just pick up your trash, people. You're grown-ups.
It's not hard. If you're hiking and you have that wrapper, just stuff it in your hiking bag because I know you got one.
Don't bring straws to the beach. You trying to kill the sea turtles? Like, come on. Do you really need a straw? Does your kid really need it? Bring a reusable one that is attached to the lid.
Hops Geek News has Dave to come on and talk about saving the environment, folks. No, that sense of community. What I was getting to is, do you see a lot of that sense of community at Gem State, kind of from the outside looking in?
We do. We see a lot of it. Most people who attend conventions or is part of the convention community, they're very aware. I've never been to Florida. One day I'll go. The reason why I don't go because there's a lot of beach there. And it's one thing I agree with Anakin Skywalker on is
I hate sand. Oh my God. I'm with you. I don't like sand at all.
Anybody who doesn't like sand is always kind of suspect to me because it's Anakin Skywalker, Dexter Morgan. I mean, you guys are in an interesting group of people. To me, the more sand on me, the better. I love it.
Listen, sometimes the craziest people, sometimes they're onto something. Okay.
Well, just with sand when I was a kid. Now I wasn't born in Idaho. I'm like 90% of Idahoans. I come from California. So, the beach was 20 minutes from my house, so we would go every weekend and, you pick up a beverage, a soda or whatever, you open it up and then you have that little indentation around the ring there. And there's always damn sand in there, and you're always drinking sand. And then you pick up a sandwich, and there's sand in the sandwich. I just can't deal with it anymore. But no, so anyway, like your question,
I have special things I clip in the thing because the kids get it in my drink.
Oh man,
little shits.
Right. But most people in the convention community, they're pretty, environmental friendly. In fact, our conventions after a convention is one of the cleanest because I personally, after an event, will pick up all the trash, and it doesn't take very long because everyone's very respectful, so, and that's in all the states that we do events with. So that's what I like about the convention community is everyone's respectful with each other. And, even when we have situations where there's a problem at an event and someone will say, aren't you afraid this will happen? Or aren't you afraid, that'll happen? This just happened in the media. Aren't you afraid it'll happen to your event? And I said, but it's always in the back of your mind. But the convention community, they're not those types, and those types of people don't go to conventions anyway. Mm-hmm. So, it's very safe environment always.
I've read there's statistics for San Diego that when San Diego Comic-Con's going on, it's the crime actually decreases or something in the area.
I believe it.
I'd have to look that up, but I've read something that they're nothing ever like that happens when those types of conventions are in town.
Unless you get a bunch of nerds to come around, and we come from a bunch of these. I mean,
it's all camaraderie too.
I was gonna say not for nothing to kind of generalize. Look at the '90s, how being a nerd wasn't seen as this cool thing, so you're kind of ostracized. So you get a lot of these cosplayers and the nerd community that come together, and they're like, "Hey, we want to be here. We all love the same thing. We're all here for the same reason. Let's just be cool." And that's what you see a lot of the conventions.
Right. No, it's true. But I think the definition of nerd, when I went to high school, I graduated high school in 88. So that was right in the, Revenge of the Nerds was out.
Yeah.
And, and I think the definition of nerds in the 80s and the definition of nerd now is completely different because some of the young men and women and what have you who go to conventions, they could be models in a magazine. You would never see a nerd like that in the 80s. I mean, there's no way. So the definition of nerd has basically expanded to a much wider range of people than it did back in the 80s. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think geek is more streamlined, and they've popularized the term geek.
Right.
I mean, how we have it in our name.
Right.
Absolutely. And so you guys are a 2-day con. You're relatively newer. And what kind of goes in? What makes your perfect con to you when you're building this thing and reaching out to guests? What kind of goes into it on your end?
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I've been to a lot of cons. In fact, I was just in LA last weekend for a con, one of my favorites. I probably won't mention them. I don't know. But, I've been to the bigger ones, Wizard World, all those types of cons. And they have all the bells and whistles and all the glittery, shiny things to make everyone go ooh and ah and what have you. And when I was going to conventions in San Jose, California, they didn't have a lot of that, and through the 80s, it was very informal, very relaxed. You could walk up to an actor and you can talk to them and ask them questions at their table, and the actors are open to all the fan base and really generous with their time and very polite. All the guests, all the special actors and guests were extroverts and wanted to meet the fans. And Marina, when she created these shows, what she was seeing in the industry at the time disappointed her, because she was seeing $55 to get in, $300 for a family of four to get in, $125 for an autograph. All these expenses where just a regular family couldn't even afford to get into an event. So she says, I want to create something where everyone can get in and everyone can feel the experience and enjoy it. And that's why we have, I don't know what the prices are now. That's her department. But but I think the prices are like a family pack's like $35 for one day or $40 for both days. And it's like $11 to get in. She tries to make sure the autographs are no more than $40, and it just makes it available to everyone. And that's how it was back in the 70s and 80s, where it wasn't a huge expense to enjoy pop culture.
Yeah, so, go ahead.
I was going to say, and at Gem State, that's what you'll find. And we also like to try to put in as many fun activities to do, just not vendor tables, but fun stuff.
I was going to say, that's one thing I really noticed. So first of all, like general admission for a day is like $20 at the door, 15 in advance. That's
for 2 days, right?
Yeah, it's unheard of. And then looking at like your events, like you're talking about, you guys, there's a movie room where they're playing movies like Turbo Rangers, The Best of Goku, things like that. That's happening this coming event. And then you have a panel room, which is in a retro arcade hangout. Like that's things you don't see.
Oh, that's really cool. A retro arcade hangout.
There's even a Jedi chamber arena, which is amazing. I have my lightsaber up there on camera, but you mentioned the price. I remember I went to a Comic-Con a few years ago. It was 2015, when cons still weren't quite as mainstream as they were, and I paid $400 to meet a celebrity, to have him sign something. Me, at the time, I was like, I didn't have kids yet. So to me, I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to die eventually, spend the money. But now it's like, there's no way in hell I am spending $400 to have somebody sign something. Like, that's just insane. So what Gem State does, and what I really appreciate, is you make it so these families can go, and because these are things that I personally enjoy doing with my kids. Like my kids are super into things like Power Rangers. Of course, I have a 7 and a 4-year-old. They're all about Power Rangers. And so there's a movie room for Power Rangers. Rita Repulsa herself is going to be at this convention. And so I love that inclusiveness behind it. It is amazing.
I know. I was looking at MegaCon today, and I'm asking my kids, all right, kids, what day do you want to go? What days don't, who wants to go what day? And I'm like, oh, it's just it's just adding up.
Yeah.
It adds up fast. And then I know we're going to spend money on parking, and I know we're going to spend money on food because you can't bring your own food in there. And of course you want to buy stuff. I mean, they're amazing events. I've never gone to any sort of con, small or big, and been like, well, that was boring. That was terrible. They're always great. The small ones to the big ones, but it adds up. And it's like, I'm hoping my kids don't want to go every day, but how can I tell them they can't when I'm going every day?
I mean, yeah.
But tell us a little bit about some of your guests, because when I was going through the list, I was like, oh, I know that. I'm not going to lie. I got a little excited when I saw you have Bozo the Clown coming. I grew up on Bozo the Clown. Like, I remember like lining up. I remember when beer pong first became big, because it was like playing both. I would say like when you could re-rack them and you had 3, I would say I want the Bozo the Clown, which meant I wanted them in a line.
Hilarious. That's good.
Yeah, he is. We like to have a diverse lineup of special guests. I'll mention their name now. the convention I went last weekend is Gallifrey 1 in Los Angeles.
Gallifrey?
Marriott.
Is that a Doctor Who one?
Yeah. I'm a big Doctor Who guy, so I've been watching it.
David Tennant was the one I paid $400. I'll say it right now. Okay. I got him to sign my 10th Doctor hockey jersey.
I paid $100 right for a David Tennant picture.
But when you go to like just a Doctor Who convention, it's just Doctor Who actors. It's all one genre. And, one thing about Comic Cons or pop culture events, it's not about just the one genre. It's a multitude of different genres, and you kind of have to fill all those spots of the different genres. So, when you go into, for example, Gem State, you're going to get something for the kids, like Jesse Flowers from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I used to say just Avatar, but now the Avatar films want you to say The Last Airbender. And then, you have something for maybe some people who are in their late 20s, which would be like Power Rangers and things like that. Rita Repulsa, obviously, that they're adults now. And then, you have something for the older folks. And I know you're in Florida, and I don't know if you've been to Idaho, but there are parts in Idaho where you walk into a grocery store and they look just like Bert and Gilliam from Blazing Saddles. They have the cap and everything else. And you're like, and they're like, they're working on a ranch. What they're
walking to Zamzows or D&B, and that's exactly what you find.
Yeah, right. I watched Blazing Saddles for the first time. I haven't finished it. I still have like 45 minutes left. I put it on for the first time ever. And I'm like, what the hell am I watching? Because I kept hearing like people making references to it in Supernatural. And then my mom was talking about it. And then people were like, oh, you can't make that movie today. And I was like, well, how bad is this movie? And then when I saw you had that guy, that was funny. And you have Joey Tribbiani's dad is there because he voices some of the Batman people.
Right.
So you got, a wide variety.
Yeah, wide variety. Robert Costanzo.
Yeah, that was it.
Yes, he's in the Batman animated series. He's one of the voices.
Right. He's also Joey's dad.
He is, yes.
I know him from Total Recall when he's on the jackhammer. He's telling Arnold Schwarzenegger, don't go to Recall, they'll lobotomize you,
Oh, and he's in Die Hard 2.
And Die Hard 2, okay. Yeah.
That's true.
So character actors are the best to have because they've done so much. They got such a great body of work. And then a surprise guest that we have is, he's not Harrison Ford or he's not Mark Hamill or Carrie Fisher, but coming all the way from London is David Chiang from Andor. And he's never been to America before. And I'm telling you, the Gem State Comic-Con Star Wars fans will be the very first Star Wars fans in America to meet him. So that, I think, in itself is historic for Star Wars fans. Yeah.
Yeah, that show has been amazing. And they're filming 2 now.
Yeah.
But, I got to tell you, you mentioned Blazing Saddles and what your mom had said. I came across a meme a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just paraphrasing now, but it said, Blazing Saddles will be showing tonight with its edited version. It starts at 8:00 and ends at 8:07.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, there was most of it. I was just like, oh my gosh. And then every now and then you're like, okay, I get it. I get that they're making fun of the bad people, but still it's just like, holy crap. But I mean, I grew up with Princess Bride and whatnot. So I loved, Mel Brooks.
Right. Mel Brooks is, Spaceballs.
Right? Spaceballs. Yeah. Spaceballs.
He's a genius. He's a genius, but you have to look at things like, what the time period was. Like, I just had a kind of not an argument, but a debate on Facebook about J.R. Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
The Spectator article wanted to cancel him out. And it's like, you have to understand his mind frame. He was born in the late 1800s, and you have to, it's different times.
Things were different then.
Different thought, different way of looking at the world than we do today. So Mel Brooks at that time, it was a different way of humor, and the humor it's in Blazing Saddles was in every single schoolyard in America. I mean, that's just the way it was,
But I do believe that he was making fun of the people who were
Absolutely.
Scum of the earth. But yeah, the late 1800s, I mean, hell, I wouldn't have been able to even vote back then. So, of course, they had a different mindset.
Well, we definitely want you to vote. Yes.
Thank you. We don't know how I vote.
I don't care. It's, you know what? It's your right, so.
That is true. Yeah. And man, it's so I have to ask though, because we're in Idaho, and is it hard to get guests to come? Like when you reach out to their whomever, is it like, oh, Idaho, what? Or is it one of like, hell yeah, I want to come to there. I've never been there before.
No, it's not hard to get people to Idaho for shows. In fact, most people say, I've never been. I've always wanted to come. Let's do this.
That's awesome.
The actors, I have to, in the entertainment business, you're working with people who are 95% of liberal thought process, of political thought. And, you're always worried about mentioning, hey, we got a show in Boise, Idaho, what they'll say. But you know what? They all love it and they all embrace it. It's not about that. It's about the fan bases and the fans they want to meet. And they want to be there for all their fans. At the end of the day, they don't care. They want to meet everybody. And that's so, believe it or not, I get actors emailing me saying, we've heard through the grapevine how great Boise is and we want to come. So now I'm at the point I don't even have to reach out for actors. They just automatically email us.
That's awesome.
And right. And like right after I always tell them, well, I don't start looking for them until a couple of months after the show ends. Well, the next day after the show ends, I'm getting emails from actors saying they want to come for like,
hey, what's up?
Next year, like a year in advance. They don't even know their shooting schedule. They just heard how wonderful Gem State Comic-Con was, and they want to be there. And, so once we cement them, we cement them. But, the inner workings of a convention, to be a success, you always have to walk that fine line of economics, and you can't overload yourself. Because a lot of conventions, first year show, they'll go to like a FanX or a WonderCon or what have you, and they'll look at everything and they'll go, we're going to emulate this first year, 3-day show, all this stuff. And then they're not back the following year. It's a slow build. Everything is a slow build, and Gem State gets better and better every year. So
it does. I've noticed too, just every year I'm like, oh, I have the same thought as, oh, wow, this person's coming. Oh, wow, this person's coming. I'm like, this is amazing. And so I'm telling all my friends, like, guys, we should, what are you doing? And it shows. You guys have put in tremendous work. You have put on a phenomenal event. And this is something that I just see growing bigger and bigger, much like, the Boise area itself is growing exponentially. Right. It's ripe. It is ripe. And the only way I see up, because most Comic-Cons like, okay, you kind of reach a certain point, but for this one, absolutely just the sky is the limit. And you guys do tremendous work.
When you work at when you work for conventions, or if you even attend conventions, you kind of, if you look inside of a convention, you kind of know which ones that are ran by fans and which ones are kind of corporate.
Oh, yeah.
And the people know, and everyone at Gem State Comic-Con, we're all fans. We're all fans of something. We all grew up watching anime, sci-fi, all that stuff. It's as you can see behind me, I'm into everything. I'm into video games, comic books, movies, television, science fiction. I mean, you name it, I'm into it, and I just love it all.
That is, it comes through. And then also you did the artwork too for Gem State Comic-Con. You're one of the creators. So would you like to tell us a little bit about the mascot that we have for Gem State?
Well, the Gem Star, which is the mascot of Gem State Comic-Con. And you don't know quite her backstory yet. Because it really hasn't been fully developed in the comic books.
I was going to say, there's a comic book I saw on your website that has her on the cover. Cool. Yes,
we are, as far as I know, we're the only Comic-Con with an actual comic book. So San Diego doesn't even have a their own comic book, and we're really tight with San Diego now. Quick story: FanX and the San Diego Comic-Con, they were butting heads. And they went to court, and some of the FanX people were like, "You can't use Comic-Con." I said, "We can, because San Diego is letting us, because we're tight with them. So it's San Diego gets to choose who gets to use it and who doesn't, and that's why."
To have friends. It pays to have friends.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and we love San Diego. We love them, and we support them. But I'd rather have them supporting us, really, because they can, they're big. But no, Gemstar is a character that represents all of Idaho and the fan base. And she is actually a student at Boise State, and she is one of the members of the volleyball team for Boise State, and she's one of their star players. And she's a young girl, in her early 20s, and one day she was out in the wilderness, and she I don't want to go into the whole origin story, but she ended up getting the superpowers relating to gems that are inside the lava flows. You'll see here in Idaho. Yeah, and she ends up becoming a superhero. But she meets Colossus Girl, who's the head honcho team leader of Team Colossus, and what they do is they defend fandom from evil corporate entities. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so she ends up joining Team Colossus, and the team there of all the heroes in that comic book, they defend the freedom of conventions, and each of our conventions has their own mascot, and Team Colossus is just all of them together. And we also have a title called Team Colossus Origins, which tells the origin story of each hero. Last year was Colossus Girl. This year it's Captain California, and probably Powerhouse in 2024. So
that's exciting. Yeah. On your website, I was like, hey, wait, that looks familiar in the Team Colossus. And sure enough, that is excellent. I know it's like right away, the blue and orange, for people who don't know, that's kind of the colors you see when I think of Idaho, Boise State. It's right there.
I think of the Florida Gators.
And no one cares what you think. No, I'm just kidding.
No one Florida Gators. Florida Gators are scum. Sorry if anybody's a Florida Gator fan. I was raised UM.
Scum between my toes.
But no, it's interesting. I actually in my notes to ask about Gemstar, because I found it interesting that I went to a Comic-Con page and there was a girl that was representing it. There was a girl mascot. So I guess there's so many things that you think like, oh, as a woman, I don't even notice those things. And you do, because that's not the norm. So right. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then when you said that it was very much so woman started and that Marina has a huge hand in all of it, that made so much more sense. So
right.
That's badass.
And being a writer, I prefer to write female characters. In fact, most of my heroes in my books or comic books are all females. What can I say? I mean, they're just the best, right? So I thought, what's the best mascot for Idaho? And if you walk around Boise, especially you walk around Boise State University, they all look like Gemstar, and the colors it's not only Boise State, but those colors are flown all over the state of Idaho,
Absolutely.
Yeah. When people think Idaho, mostly they think of Boise State University, and the blue turf on the football field.
Yes. Yes. It's always funny because I remember watching Boise State football games growing up in Massachusetts, and now I'm here and I got my degree from Boise State too. And so that's the one thing, is the blue football field. Anybody you talk to, that's what it's known for. And so,
right. And, I have to tell you that, being in charge of getting guests, I worked very hard for years to try to get one convention with strictly all female special guests. And sometimes it's hard to do that. And last year I was able to do it with our Anna Medford in Oregon, and they had an all female special guest lineup. And, I've very much into that.
That's amazing. And then
That's
also
awesome.
not just the Comic-Con, but you guys also do a big cosplay meetup in the summertime too. So it isn't just a one and done event. You host a really great cosplay event in the summer.
I have to tell you, here at Jeff State Comic Con, we're building a family, and how that family is built, it mostly is people buy our Forever Pass, which is a pass you buy, and it allows you to go to Gem State Comic Con for the rest of your life. So it's basically when you buy that once, it's free admission forever for you, as long as you're breathing. And we have, the cosplay contest that we do at the park. But we also have other events that I'm going to give you an exclusive. So
that's awesome.
Another event we do every year, we give our volunteers and our Forever Pass holders a free movie, usually after Gem State Comic Con. Last year, we bought out the theater, and everyone sat down and watched Doctor Strange for free, all the volunteers and all the Forever Pass holders. And this year, we're going to do a movie. We're going to do a cosplay contest. But the exclusive nobody knows about is that we are working with Idaho Penitentiary to do a 2 to 3 hour party with a DJ. And it's going to be Batman Arkham themed in the penitentiary.
Oh, my goodness.
That is so cool.
And we're going to have just not a cosplay contest, but we're going to have a bat dance contest.
That is everything. That is amazing. That is,
and that's cool. That's gonna be free for Forever Pass holders. If you're a Forever Pass holder, you get all these perks, and plus, if you're at Gem State Comic Con, you get free access to the green room, which means you could be eating lunch with a celebrity, and the lunch is free because you're a member. So, and that's
how much is this membership? I'm gonna fly out.
Yeah, it's $69. I believe it's $69.99. Yeah,
that is not bad whatsoever.
And it's been a big response.
Wow.
And, it's great because the Forever Pass holders, they come to all the events and you get to know them, and everyone becomes like family. And it was funny last year, some guy, Spider-Man, walks right by me. Hey, and he's got his Forever Pass. He just walks right in. He doesn't have to wait in line. So it's amazing. And we're going to be offering more perks at Gem State this year, like seating for Forever Pass holders and other things like that. I want to say it was before COVID. We had a pizza party with Sam Jones, which Forever Pass holders were able to get into that for free. So...
I'd be walking around like Wayne and Garth.
I was going to say, that's seriously VIP level. Like, you really feel like a VIP at that point, and it makes you, again, fans and brings people in. And so, as we wrap up here, is there anything else that you want people to know about the Comic-Con, or also where can people find your writings, of course?
Oh, well, if you have an Alexa, you can just say, Alexa, author Davidson L. Haworth, and it'll tell you all about me, and it'll say, do you want to buy his book? And you can say yes, and it'll be shipped to your house. So I'm everywhere, Amazon, just about everywhere. But I'm working on a new book now. It's called War Dog, and it's about a dog escaping the Ukrainian-Russian war. And the reason why I'm writing that, and if you know, last year we did a charity for Ukraine, and proceeds to Gem State went to help Ukraine animals and children.
Yep.
And there's nothing that hurts us more than watching innocent people and animals being injured. So I'm writing this book, War Dog. It's a short story, very similar to how Tolkien writes. And it's about a dog traveling to the Polish border to escape the Ukrainian-Russian war. And
That's awesome.
So I'm working on that, and hopefully the proceeds, once it's out, if people buy it, the proceeds will go to help the Humane Society, whatever the equivalent is in Ukraine, to help dogs and cats and animals.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And we'll obviously in the bio, if you guys want, everything you can find right there in the bio about Gem State and about Dave himself. And Dave, like, I would love to connect further and get together and chat again sometime. We really appreciate you coming on and talking about the Comic-Con, because it's important to me to show that Idaho has a lot to offer for a lot of people, and especially a Comic-Con, because that's what we love here is comic books, movies, TV shows, right? And this is the place to do it. If you're in Idaho, right here, April 1st and 2nd that's the place to be with a lot of other individuals and people who love the same things you do. So go there, connect, make friends. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you guys. So thanks again for coming on. I sincerely appreciate it.
And anytime you guys want me, just let Marina know, and I'll be happy to come on with you.
Absolutely.
Ooh. I'm like, you're into we do comic book origin episodes. You might have to come on and help us with one of those one day.
I do a lot of podcasts, so I'm always happy to come on. And at Matthew is local. I have special interest now.
I'd love to hear. We'll connect, but as everybody knows, subscribe, help us grow, share the show, and we'll get out. Gem State Comic-Con, everybody. Be there or be square.
Be square.
That's right. And we'll see you guys. We'll be back next week with another great episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. Cheers.